It is Tuesday, 9 a.m. Atlantic Daylight Time, and we are analyzing the lyric. And what lyric are we analyzing this day? Well, Hall & Oates, She's Gone. She's gone, man. She's out of here. Broke your heart. Took off. She took the farm with her. What are we going to do? In this world, of course, relationships is a thing, isn't it? Yeah, relationships is a thing. And sadly, there are two worldviews walking this earth regarding relationships. You have those who follow the wisdom or the insight of healthy relationships that is instructed to us or given to us within the scriptures for Christians. And you have the world's wisdom, the way the world operates, and what it seems to want to have in a relationship or how it functions with a relationship. And I've tried both. Having lived in the world, not following Jesus or anything like that, not friendly to Jesus or anything like that for many, many years. I've been in several relationships. And things typically always end up in chaos or disorder, separation, after a lot of pain, stuff like that. And it's usually has to do with selfishness, toxic behavioral delinquencies, lack of thoughtfulness, lack of compassion, and the true gems and tools of love that keep a relationship together and flourishing. The very things, again, that within the Christian worldview, we are governed and instructed and guided with the insight of inspired words, teaching us, of course, how to have a fruitful and flourishing and passionate and healthy relationship. But the world don't do that, and many of us, having lived life as a Gentile for many years, we've come to find that out perhaps the hard way. In many of the relationships, of course, I played my part in being a problem, and the women I've been with in their corner also immature. We were all, and a great many heartaches came out of it, and some turmoil, chaos, disorder, stuff like that. Were there moments of peace? Were there moments where true affection was found, or how should I say, a yearning to be together was there, an attraction? Well, of course, yeah. Even in the worldview and its relationships, there are facets within that relationship that are decent, that are pure, and have strong emotional investments and ties. Feels good, right? That kind of stuff. But ultimately, a worldly relationship is not going to have a solid rooted foundation to grow a healthy union. It just won't, whether it be in the realm of friendship or in the realm of marriage, the realm of togetherness. Just won't happen. It won't happen between employer and employee. It won't happen between neighbors. It won't happen between coworkers or fellow students at school. It won't happen anywhere, as if there is not a faithful participation within the insight the scriptures reveal in order to have a healthy relationship. Now, an unhealthy relationship which leads to disorder, pain, sorrow, loss, things like that, is certainly fuel to the mind of a poet or the mind of a writer, the mind of a performer, an artist. And no greater genre, of course, than the entertainment industry within the music business, where we find the fruitful products of life in chaos and relationships dissolved. Hall & Oates writing a song together, both of them, and typically one would write or the other would write, and then they'd have their songs and they would play together. But on this occasion, She's Gone, the song they both wrote upon their relationships. One of them was going to a divorce, and the other one had been stood up there for a meeting or a date and whatnot, and they were speaking about those turmoils of relationships they were finding with women. And they wrote, well, a very strong song within the genre of the music industry, right? Platinum selling artists they are. And the poetry and the simplicity of their thoughts put into a form in which musical accompaniment is found, and it's a beautiful song. I like the song. Hall and Oates, man, they got some, I go, the 70s, 80s Halls and Oates. Man, they got some soul playing, man. These two little white guys, they really had some super hits, right? And a lot of their songs I enjoy greatly. But I go back to the early 70s. I forget the name of the album now, but man, they got some funky songs. They got some real soul R&B kind of songs. They were good at what they did, no doubt. And they wrote a song called "She's Gone," and well, self-descriptive to the fact, she's gone. What does that mean? Well, obviously we will be opening up the lyric and we'll be analyzing the information therein and having practical application to it all, right? Both from the worldview and the Christian worldview. Again, the Christian worldview, if we are governed by the 27 books of the New Testament system, and you actually take the time to read it on your own, independently accountable with the intellectual capability, you look at those words, you take the time to focus and meditate upon the words you are reading, you will begin to see the theme that reveals to us this insight regarding relationships and how we can have a flourishing, healthy, growing, passionate relationship. And that's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Once you tap into that system, the 27 books of the New Testament system, and you apply that in your life with the proper motive of the heart, of course, you will see how truly beautiful it can be with your relationships. Again, whether it be friendship, or marriage, or employer-employee, or coworkers, things like that. Even when you find yourself with someone that could be difficult in your life, you can navigate and persevere. But the world has a different view upon relationships, and its function is quite different and in opposition to the Christian worldview and relationships. Now, it is an undeniable, unget-overable statistical fact that every human being who has applied the New Testament system in their relationships have had fulfilling relationships that have lasted till death did they part, for a brief time. Every time. Now, it is a statistically proven fact, an unget-overable fact, that every relationship that is found in a worldly way, without God, ends in turmoil. And someone says, well, I know a plenty great group of Christians who have ended up in chaos and divorce. Well, that is true, but that's not the fault of the system in which we can read the 27 books that instruct us how to have a healthy and growing relationship. That's not the fault of the inspired writ. It's the fault of the hearts within the Christians, the believers, who have not applied the instructions. If the boss tells you, here's the production line, you're the employee, here's the production line, here's how you're going to be productive as an employee here. You need to do this, that way and that this way, and you need to do it. You're given the instructions. And if you don't do if you do not actively practice the instructions, not only actively practice the instructions, the law that's been given to you orderly in that employment, but also with the fervent passion of the heart to do the work. And if you don't do it according to the instruction, what do you think is going to happen? Well, the production line is going to come seizing to a halt, and there's going to be an issue, and you're going to find yourself unemployed. Because the boss is going to be like, I gave you the instructions, man. I gave you the A to the Z and everything in between on how to be productive in this employment, how to make it work. And you didn't do that. So you messed up the production line, thousands of dollars in damage, and you're fired. Well, when we choose to enter into a relationship, okay, there are indeed terms and instructions to have that relationship flourish and grow strong. And if we do not participate in those instructions, that guidance, that insight, we're going to end up in turmoil, in chaos, in withdrawal, in division, in separation, in divorce. So again, It's not the fault of the instruction manual. It's the fault of the individual who does not participate in the instruction manual. So when someone says, "Well, I know a great plenty of believers and Christians who have fallen to divorce or chaos in their relationships, friendships, or marriage or whatever," well, yeah, because they didn't, with the purity and transparency, honesty of the heart, follow the very strict instructions given to us on how to be healthy and growing in your relationship. Many of us fell prey to those things. Now, so that takes care of that argument, if you will. But the world has no barometer on how this functions. It's always driven by just a pure emotion, which, again, if you utilize the world's ways in emotion, but you take that emotion, that passionate emotion, which is good. I mean, God blessed us with feelings. If we use the strength of the feelings the world uses, but we govern it by the word of God, we would have a very well-rounded relationship with our spouse or friends or whatever. Again, whichever category of relationship you are seeking to endeavor. But the problem is the world only has a very flippant or wind-wise, mythical application to their feelings and their relationships. So a great many times, though the feelings are strong and amped, you find a great deal of selfishness, right? Why isn't the relationship glowing and flowing and growing and healthy? Well, I want to do this, she wants to do that. We have two different paths in life. Well, then why are you together to begin with? And so a great many times, what happens in the world and its relationships, and again, I've lived there for decades. I know I'm well versed. I've been experienced. Selfishness, lack of thoughtfulness, sexual immorality, fornication, having sexual activities outside the marriage bed, no commitment, right? No loyalty to it. Not saying, I do, I love you, and I will love you, and I will work on this marriage for the rest of my life with you. None of that. It's just, hey, listen, you look hot. Let's get together, have a few drinks, fornicate, and from there, if it feels good, if it had that magic thing, then we'll keep seeing each other. You'll move in, and so on and so forth. And then it becomes a fight. You're always in turmoil. You're always fighting. And some say, well, we're always fighting. We can't get along. Maybe if we get married, that'll help. And then they get married, and it's worse. And then they're like, oh, maybe the problem with our marriage now is that we don't have any children. Let's have some children. And then they have children, and it gets worse. And then they divorce after having been married and having children, and they can't get along. And they're trying, and then they blame marriage. It's the fault of marriage. It's marriage fault. Well, is it really? Again, it's the Bible's fault. No, it isn't really. It's that you did not apply selflessness. You did not practice humility, thoughtfulness. You did not place you did not place effort. You did not invest in your marriage. You did not seek for the greater good of your partner. You did not take two to become one. It almost became a business transaction of sorts where you're not going to get along. So again, in the world, there's all sorts of those things. And it doesn't make for any long-lasting relationship that's valued, if you will. But it certainly does make good music. It's like the country singer, right? The bright young country singer who's still naive, wet behind the ears kind of stuff. And he's trying to just write some music, but he doesn't have the wisdom to it. Doesn't have the worldly edge to it yet. So you tap him on the shoulder as a producer or as a music businessman, and you're just like, hey, kid, go be worldly for a while. You go out there in the world for a good 10, 20 years, and you come back, and I assure you, you'll be writing some hit songs. And sure enough, he does. He peruses the honky-tonks, and he finds all kinds of fast women, and he finds all kinds of worldly ways, and he becomes corrupted by the world's ways. He loses his innocence, and now he begins to have the poet's mind, and he can write a song that, well, most of the world understands because most of the world is fallen into that snare, and they're like, oh, yeah. That's why a great many ways we kind of cherish the songs we grew up with, whether country or rock and roll or R&B or whichever department, because we're like, yeah. When they speak about relationships, like, yeah, lived through that. I've done that. Now, of course, um, the blessing is available as an opportunity to those of us who would want to know the Christ, or our children who are being born and raised within the boundaries of our Lord's doctrine and the love therein and the compassion, so they can kind of learn from the mistakes of some of us who have lived the Gentile way of life and be like, I don't want to live that way. That seemed to have caused a lot of pain and a lot of suffering. It's like, yeah, here's a flame. Let me tell you something. If you put your hand on that flame, it's going to burn you. It's going to burn your hand. It's going to hurt. Now, some kids are like, yeah, you know what? I'll trust you. I believe that. I can see the heat. I can feel the heat. I don't want to touch it with my hand. I'll burn my hand. Yeah, I know that. Some other kids, sadly, like right here, like I was like, I don't know about that. I'm going to put my hand on it. I'd burn my hand. And you would think I would have learned. But I said, let me try it again. Maybe if I come at a different angle and put my hand on the flame on a different angle, maybe it won't hurt as much. I burnt my hand again. Did that for 20, 30 years. So there's two venues of the wisdom, right? But again, those who put the hand in the flame, burn the hand, and say, ow, well, they can write a song. And they do. And Hall & Oates wrote a song called She's Gone. They got involved in relationships that did not last because they were worldly relationships. Worldly relationships don't have what it takes to last. The only reason worldly relationships last is because they, unknowingly, a great many times, utilize Christian principles within the marriage or within the relationship. That's why it functions. They won't give credit where credit is due, sadly. But that's where that comes from. I'm a worldly person. Don't need Christianity. I don't need to believe in no God, and my relationship is fine. I know. I've been there. I've said the same things. But the reason the relationship is working fine, whether we acknowledge it or not, is because you are utilizing Christian principles. You're being kind to your spouse. You're being kind to your partner. You're being thoughtful. You're being selfless. You're putting her greater needs first. See, all these things that are making your relationship work well, you claiming that even though you don't believe in Jesus, you don't follow the principle of the moral uprightness of those attributes are part of love, is why it's working. And I've learned those things in life. I know I've come to terms with those things, and it's been a blessing to learn those things and where they come from. So we're going to put up the lyrics on the screen from Hall & Oates' hit song, She's Gone. And we'll read through them and just, analyze, have a conversation about that. It was a hit song for them. Again, both of them wrote this together upon their experience of loss in their relationships. One of them going through a divorce, the other one, I think, being ghosted by a girlfriend, things like that. And it made a very powerful and memorable song that plays on the radio, and I play it, again, these days. I've been listening to it a great deal. I've been listening to the record there a great deal. It just has the right R&B soul kind of melting emotion there with it. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. Let's go forward now with putting the lyrics up on the screen. Please consider subscribing, liking, following, sharing a comment. All these things helps us, surf the algorithm wave, and perhaps others out there who would like to stick around and learn with us and have conversation with us, perhaps share your experiences in the comments section. Do you know which song I'm talking about when I say Hall & Oates, She's Gone? Have you heard the song? Is that a song you've liked, or is it the first time you ever hear about this song? Let us know in the comments section there. So let's put up the screen and bring up the lyrics to She's Gone from Hall & Oates. So it begins here. Oh, got ourselves those pesky little ads that just love to pop up all over the place. Go away. There we go. Where's the other one? Where's the big X? There. Go away, you pesky ads. She's gone. She ain't here no more. She ain't here with us no more. She gone. Everybody's high on constellations. Everybody's trying to tell me what is right for me. So here is an individual writing an account song upon his divorce and the emotions that come with this divorce. And everybody wants to try to give him some advice, right? Everybody has some sort of input to share his way. You're going through divorce. It's a difficult thing. It is. It's a very challenging thing, especially if there's been many, many years into it and children involved. But I think what's happening here, oh, they want us to listen to the song. Not right now. Let's go back to the lyrics. There we go. So everybody's high on consolation, right? To be, well, let's do this just for fun. Let's pull up our Brave search engine and let's define consolation. Define consolation. The act or an instance of consoling, the state of being consoled, one that consoles, a comfort. Your kindness was a consolation to me in my grief. So is consolation a bad thing? Well, no, not necessarily. It's a comfort, right? So a lot of people are trying to comfort our friend here, Hall and Oates, regarding their relationship mishaps, and the pain that came with it. Everybody's high on consolation. They're amped in the objective to produce a comfort to their friend who is in pain. Everybody's trying to tell me what's right for me. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to be, here's what you need to start thinking, or you need to start. You need to start doing yoga. That'll help you, with your divorce, going through your divorce, things like that. Everybody's got something to say. Everybody's trying to contribute. Some of them perhaps sincere and honest, and we know that. I've been through heartache. I've fell down and wept and just been this little blubbering little baby over a girl who broke my heart, and I've had a few of those. I know. I've done the same to some of the girls, I've had them cry over silly old me, believe it or not. But it's then your friends come in, family and neighbors and coworkers, like, oh, dude, it'll get better, man. You'll see. You'll get over it. What you need to do is start reading this book, or start listening to this music, or go for walks, or start yoga, or, they've got some kind of kindness or comfort to throw your way, a suggestion of sorts. My uncle, he was cool with that. I'd have a hard break thing, and he'd just take me away. We'd go hiking stuff, and he just had a way to, try to help me get over the whole heartache thing, the whole heartbreak thing. But yeah, so they've got all kinds of friends in their circle trying to help them with these suggestions. Everybody's trying to tell me what is right for me. Yeah, my daddy tried to bore me with a sermon. Dad tried to preach to me this lecture of sorts on about divorce and the pain, or the healing, or whatever. But it's plain to see that they can't comfort me. All these attempts, all these efforts being made by my friends and family, coming from all angles. And some of them, again, they may be sincere and honest because they genuinely love us. Some of them not so much. Sometimes, it's they'll take advantage of your pain for their own selfish ambitions or whatever. There's all kinds of characters out there in your circles, in the world, back in the world's ways, and they're trying to bring you some kind of comfort, if not to that end. But it's not working. And I still remember, like, being in the world and having my heart broken over a girl I thought I loved. Nothing changed. Like, it does. Nothing, my friends or my family or my coworkers or my neighbors, nothing worked. It just didn't. I was snared in this spiral downwards of pain, and I couldn't understand it, and why would she leave me, and stuff like that. And just nothing worked. What eventually worked, of course, is time, and then you become accustomed to the loss, and you move on. And once you've reached that stage where you've moved on, you're like, wow, I can't believe I cried over her. Good grief. Man, she was awful. What an awful human being she was. She treated me like garbage. And I loved her, and I was like ready to marry her. I was like blubbering and crying to her parents. Why did she do this to me? Well, now it's like, phew, I dodged a bullet. And some of your friends that were on your corner, some of them had the courage to say that to you, like, buddy, get over it, man. We've been trying to tell you this girl's bad news. Like, dude, you just dodged a bullet. You should be thanking her she's leaving you. All right, got all kinds of those things going on. Let's keep reading the lyrics here and see what else is happening. So everybody's trying to bring him some comfort, right? Everybody's got something they're trying to do for him. Some of them getting high on that. Oh, well, the virtuous friend who, just floats on in with the answers. No, there's no answers to the pain. The pain has to do what it needs to do, and it's going to slowly, settle down there. The smoke will clear one day. Dad, he's trying to bore me with another one of his sermons there. Oh, son, you shouldn't be divorcing, or son, you want to do... I'm not listening to any of it. I don't want to hear none of it. My parents were the same. My dad was the same with relationships. Like, you're a bad person, and she's a bad person, and both of you are bad people, and you shouldn't be you shouldn't be getting into relationships like that. It's not healthy at all. But it's plain to see that they can't comfort me, he says. So he continues and says, sorry, Charlie, for the imposition. I think I got it. I got the strength to carry on. Oh yeah, I need a drink and a quick decision. Now it's up to me. Ooh, what will it be? So the suggestions that are coming in from my friends, trying to bring me some comfort, it's not going to work. It's not going to happen. I'm not listening to them because they don't have the answers. Dad don't have the answers either with his sermon, his lectures, his appeal to my senses according to the relationship fallout. No, it's not going to do it, so therefore, sorry, Charlie, for the imposition. What's an imposition? Let's look up that word. We looked at the word consolation. Let's look at, let me see here, define, what's the word again? I just lost it. Imposition. Define imposition. Imposition. Clink. Imposition. The act of imposing, or the condition of being imposed. Something imposed, such as a tax. Who wants that? An undue burden or a fraud. Hey, man, we don't want none of those things. A burdensome or unfair demand, as upon someone's time. Listened to the telemarketer, but resented the imposition. Trying to intrusively, like this is me now, it seems that it's something that would intrusively seek to infiltrate your life. Sorry, Charlie, for the intrusive infiltration. I think I got it, though. I got the strength to carry on. I've got this. It hurts, and I'd rather not be going through it. But I can deal with this. It'll be fine. Oh, yeah. I just need a drink and a quick decision. That's what's going on here. I'm going to mask this pain by utilizing the venue of liquor and making a decision upon where the liquor drives me, or that kind of thing. And that's exactly what the world has to say about that. That's how the world operates. That's exactly what I would do when I would find myself in heartache. Give me a bottle. Let's go drinking. We'll drink the pain away. Now the pain may be momentary. How should I say now? For a moment, the pain may seem like if it's gone away. It's been numbed by the liquor. But once you wake up in a stupor from the booze-filled stupor, the pain comes back. Doublefold. Depression, discouragement. And you keep drinking, thinking you're going to numb the pain from it. And it's just this non-ending dysfunction that just makes things worse. But that's the remedy of the world, right? I'm going through a heartache, going through a divorce. So what I need is liquor and a quick decision. I need to make a path for my life. I'll get over this. I'll carry on. Now it's up to me. Ooh, what will it be? What am I going to choose to do? She's gone. She's gone. Oh, I better learn how to face it. I got to deal with this. I just have to cope with it. I have to come to terms with it. She's gone. My wife is gone. She chose to leave me. Now I'd pay the devil to replace her. Like I'd I'd be willing to go to eternal torment for in order to receive her back. Like I didn't want her to go. This seems to be like, again, one party's leaving and the other party is not with it. And the other party's like, no, we can make this work. Even though we fight all the time and we bicker all the time and nothing's really healthy in the relationship except for probably sexual intercourse. So yeah, it's a mess. It's a complete turmoil. But I'd sell my soul to the devil just to have you back. So she probably said, I've had enough of this. This is not going anywhere. And sometimes women have that insight quicker than the men do, right? Sometimes the women snap into it and be like, there's no future with you. But in this position in marriage, I'd be like, but then you shouldn't have married me. But she did. And now she's leaving. And Hall and Oates, well, they'd pay the devil to replace her. She's gone. And she's gone. Oh, why? What went wrong? What happened? Well, of course, if you really think about it, you can come to know what went wrong. You just have to humble your heart and think about it and be like, oh, that's what went wrong. That's what went wrong. We were not applying Christian principles in our marriage. We were acting like immature individuals, selfish, too much pride, too much ego, no willingness to compromise for the greater good of the unity, not willing to invest in what mattered the most, our marriage. So yeah, it it came to naught. We just had a big drop in our viewership there. Somebody didn't like the whole something I said. It happens. You got to have your seatbelt on, when you're listening to these sessions. So she's gone, right? And he has to tell himself, I better learn how to face this reality. I better learn how to deal with this. It's happening. It continues and it says, get up in the morning, look in the mirror. One less toothbrush hanging in the stand. So there, of course, a reminder that the person he loves, his wife, is no longer there. And she ain't going to be there. She's left. She's gone. His remedy, of course, is just to get over it through brute force, liquor, some quick decisions. All my friends and neighbors and family, they're trying to help me out. They're trying to be kind and compassionate. They're trying to console me. They're giving me all sorts of suggestions. It's not working. It's not going to work. And so I better just learn how to get over it. Got to deal with this. Yeah, my face ain't looking any younger, right? Going through this, no doubt, has activated a few more lines, a few more telltale signs of my aging self. Going through those moments, man, you grow older, not only because you lose some innocence, which will get you older, but also because time keeps moving forward. And what a shame that is, though, to have invested time in marriage, perhaps even children, and it comes to a divorce at the hands of lawlessness, because it's always lawlessness. And when a selfish person chooses to practice lawlessness in a marriage unity or union or unit, it dissolves. And there's a lot of pain with that. There's a lot of suffering that comes with that. And he can recognize himself in the mirror now, seeing the reminder of his loss and thinking, I'm not getting any younger. I just invested, 5, 10 years, 20 years in this marriage. Selflessness. It was lacking. Too much selfishness was taking place. So the account continues here in this recorded song. My face ain't looking any younger. Now I can see love's taking a toll on me. Like it's giving me a beating, right? It's giving me a whooping. Have you ever, you see people sometimes out there in public life, Walmart maybe, and you can look at that person and say, oof, life doesn't seem to have been kind to that person, right? She seems like if she's had a hard life. He seems like if he's had a hard life. You can see it, can't you? Have you recognized that? Do you pay attention to people? We're in the people business, aren't we? As Christians, we're trying to help people better their lives following Christ, knowing who the man Jesus is. Saved my soul, saved my life. You can see when you pay attention to the countenance of your fellow man, and it can be easily identified that this individual has had a hard life. Imagine what's seen inside if what you see outside shows to have a lot of pain. Random homeless person in the city happens all the time. If you're parked somewhere in the city for 5 to 10 minutes, a homeless person is going to show up to your window. Some of them are homeless, genuinely so, sincerely so, and they just need help from their fellow man. They've got no one. Those are in the very small percentage of them all. The rest of them are what we call now zombies. Neck scratchers. Give me money, man. It's like, what do you mean? Stop smoking crack. Go to work. But we're not permitted to say that anymore in this culture. The age of lunacy. We're not permitted to say that. That would be offensive to them, which, of course, continues to enable them into the zombie-ish worldview. But anyways, not to get sidetracked here. Homeless person comes to my window. I don't know, maybe mid-50s. Just broken. You could see. He's just, life's been hard. I ruined my life with liquor. I ruined my life with drugs. Lost my wife. Lost my career. I almost wanted to tell him, man, you should just pick up an instrument and write a song. You'll make a hit song. If there's a location where the world is friendly to us, is once it has broken us with its lawlessness, you can take it and turn it into art. And that sort of art will make you millions of dollars. Why? Because all of us have, from one spectrum to the other, if we've lived a Gentile life, if we lived life away from God for a designated time period, we will identify with the song, with the movie, with the book, with the art, with the whole realm of that kind of entertainment. I didn't do that, but I did open my wallet and I had $40. I gave him 20. And of course, he's like, God bless you, sir. Thank you so much. Just very thoughtful for it. And we do that quite often. It's not for any spectacle or show or to be found out or whatnot. It's between us and God. And I told him, I said, I'm that guy. I'm giving him the money, and I'm that kind of guy. I'm like, you going to go do drugs with this? You messing around with me? Taking advantage of me? You a fraud? I'll talk to the person like that. I'll talk them right like that and look them in the eyes too. And sometimes they break down because they know what they're going to do with it, to which I don't give them the money. But sometimes it's like, sir, man, I ruined my life. I'm going right there to get food, and you can watch me go there and get the food. I'm just broken. Well, here you go, man. You take that. It's not much, but you go buy yourself a hamburger and fries over there, and think about Jesus. God bless you, sir. Thank you so much. I can't believe it. Some of them, they even get teary-eyed. They're so desperately seeking it. Well, out here in the cold, they got nowheres to go. They sleep everywhere's on the ground there. It's just sad. Really, it is. But the point, sex, drugs, and rock and roll ends up in turmoil. This homeless individual, he lost his wife. He lost his career. He lost everything about his life, it seems, in regards to those things. It takes a toll on you. You can see he had a hard life. You can tell he or she has had a hard life. We should have compassion towards our fellow man who have had hard lives. You can see the pain in their eyes. You can see the pain in their eyes. What, are we going to be harsh with them? Well, God forbid. And sadly, there are some Christians, some believers, who bring much reproach on the name of our Lord with that kind of trash, that kind of heavy-handed, unrighteous judgment upon our fellow man, our fellow brethren who have had a hard life. I've held the lifeless body of a loved one in my arms. I know what that is. I've seen loved ones, their eyes go off and die before me. I've held them in my arms. What are you going to do? You think being harsh and being heavy-handed, being brash is the way we should be? Or that somehow I'm supposed to allow these rainbow-colored individuals in our community now, these corrupt lunatics, somehow to bring offense. I mean, no, we have to have um, the compassion of heart to recognize that some have had a hard life. Some have had a hard life, and some have had it way harder than I have, no doubt. I've got peaches and cream on my corner compared to some brethren, some human beings, fellow human beings. And back to the song and the lyric. Now I can see love's taking a toll on me. He's looking in the mirror. He can see, yeah, it's caused me to grow older. Got a few more wrinkles off of this here experience with his wife, now divorced. She's gone, he says again. I better learn how to face it. Just got to deal with this. She's gone. I'd pay the devil to replace her. She's gone. Why? What went wrong? Again, if you'd humble your heart and you look for answers in the right direction, you'd find the answers. You'd find the answers if your questions were in the right direction. First off, no human being on this earth is worth going to hell for. That's numero uno. I had to learn that. You should learn that. Never. I would gladly lay down my life for my family and friends. I've counted that cost. I hope nothing happens to demand my life to be laid down for them. I want us to live together, but I've counted that cost. I will die to protect my family and friends. Okay. Well, that being said, my physical life can be utilized to the greater protection of my family and friends. Okay? That's how I love them. That's how I am willing to produce that love for them, that security for them. However, none of them are worth me going to hell for. That doesn't mean I don't love them. That doesn't mean I'm not willing to give my physical life for their greater good and security. Take the bullet. But eternity's a long time. And as much as I love my wife and children, my parents, and the church I work with, I minister with, there's absolutely no way that none of them are worth going to hell for. Nothing is worth going to hell for. It just isn't. A great many songs have been written saying it's worth going to hell for. Meatloaf wrote a song. I think we may have analyzed it. Where he expresses he'd be willing to go to hell for the love he has for this certain woman. Well, here with this lyric we're analyzing from Hall & Oates, a wonderful song, man. She's Gone is, again, it's just got that charming melody. It's just so mellow and R&B soul kind of stuff. Well, he says, I'd pay the devil to replace her. He'd be willing to count the cost eternally to have her back. The devil, what he wants, right? Well, he wants your soul. He wants your eternal soul. Is she worth it? No. No one is worth going to hell for. Now, we've told ourselves that some people are worth going to hell for. But no, nobody is worth going to hell for. Nobody is worth going to hell for. And you wouldn't even need to make that decision or have that temptation. If you marry the right person, how will you know how to marry the right person? Number one, you trust the providential winds of God's candidacy. God will choose the proper candidate and place him or her in your life, and on your free will account, have the blessing to choose to say yes or no. In other words, if you are governed by the 27 books of the New Testament law, the law of grace and mercy, if you are driven by this instruction manual, right? Guided by it, you will find yourself with an individual who will want to go to heaven with you. Love Jesus and follow Jesus. And you won't be found having to deal with divorce and having to say, well, I'd give up my soul eternally just to have her back, just to have that love again. No. No, you don't want to do that. That's not how this works. Okay, so we keep reading. It says, think I'll spend eternity in the city. Okay, I'm going to go off in the city, the hustle and bustle, of the city life, and I'll let the carbon and monoxide choke my thoughts away. Almost sounds suicidal from one end of it, right? The pain is so deep, I'm willing to give up my eternal soul in hell just to have my wife back, or at least to be replaced with that similar love, so I don't need to go through this detox moment of sorrow and grief and loss. So I think I'll go spend eternity in the city. I'll go spend, in other words, the rest of my life over there in the city lights and let the carbon and monoxide choke my thoughts away. It's city life living. It never goes to sleep, does it? It has a pretty, it delivers a strong temptation for anybody who is dealing with heartache. The world has its own remedies. Yeah, and pretty bodies, he says, help dissolve the memories. So I'll go to the city. We'll do the whole sex, drugs, and rock and roll thing. And there'll be other women there, pretty bodies. There's other pretty girls out there. All kinds of them. Dime a dozen. They all look the same. I'll find myself forgetting about my now ex-wife by being with other women in the city where the women are fast, the pills are fast, the liquor is fast, and no one sleeps. Who's got time for sleep when we're all on speed, drinking hard liquor and fornicating? They can never be what she was, though, to me. I mean, that'll never happen. She'll never be replaced. She'll never be replaced. These other ladies of the night, sensual ladies of the night, they're not going to be able to replace the love I had for my ex-wife, who I'd be ready to replace that sort of love by giving my soul up eternally in torment. But there's no way around it. I just need to learn how to get over this. She's gone. I better learn how to face it. I have to cope with it. I have to deal with this. She's gone. She's not coming back. She will never be coming back. She's gone. Now I'd pay the devil to replace her. I'd give up my soul to have her in my arms again. But that ain't going to happen. She's gone. What went wrong? Well, perhaps her heart was not truly in it. That's a harsh reality. I've been in those relationships. Maybe her heart was just not into it. And because we loved her so much, we had created in our own thoughts a myth. A myth. We were blinded by our love. We were blinded by our love for her, but she truly just never really loved me. It was convenient for her to be with me for a while. Maybe that's what he's thinking about. Maybe that's what's going on. If you think about it a bit more, why? She was selfish. Right? Everything else in her life was more important than our marriage. How is that going to work? Can't have that work. Nothing can be more important in a marriage than the marriage. And that can function forward when Christ is at the head of the home. But the world's ways doesn't have Christ at the head of the home. And it continues to live in turmoil and pain. So what went wrong? Well, obviously she may have never truly loved you. And because your love for her made you think that she did. And that, my dear friend, is a self-deception to it. All the red flags, you kept looking the other way. She's gone. I better learn how to face it, he says. She's gone. I can't believe that she's gone. It's surreal. At times I refuse to accept it. I can't believe it. I refuse to accept it. It's just not fair. It's not right. Sometimes we just have to come to terms with it. She really wasn't the one we thought she was. And she really didn't love me like I thought she did. That's why she's gone. That's why she's gone. That's a harsh reality to come to terms with. I misjudged. My emotions for her blinded me from who she truly was. Right? Let me see here. I better learn how to face it. She's gone. I can't believe she's gone. Okay, so that kind of finishes off there that way. Now, obviously, pain and grief would have us act or say things that we normally would not do. We're not truly sober of thought when you're going through a deep, piercing moment of grief. Maybe you would have outbursts of anger that you would normally not have. Maybe you would use language you would never use. Maybe you'd think things you ought not be thinking. Grief is a difficult thing to go through, and grief comes in several forms. But the loss of someone you truly loved in a marriage, whom you thought loved you just as much, that's a difficult one. Some comments with us, some friends. Anik with us, Nakia, Carolyn, Charlene, Jackie, Lee, Barbara, Tammy. Awesome. Lee says, not making excuses for the songwriter, but in times of grief, our thoughts and words can be reactive and unreasonable. Our pain can influence our decisions so deeply. Spot on, Lee. You got it. That's it. That's it. It's a good comment. It's true. Some of us who have walked this earth long enough can know that. I mean, I've certainly been guilty of those things. And sadly, when you're outside of Christ and you're not governed by the wisdom of Christ, you go to the world's ways. Other women, fast women, liquor, drugs, whatever you think will numb the pain or change your direction or stop the grief. It doesn't. It doesn't stop the grief at all. And sometimes we act in ways we ought not to because we're driven by intoxicants and a deep sorrow, a deep grief. So you may lash out when you wouldn't normally lash out. You may say things to your friends or whatnot that you should not have said. That happens because, again, we're dealing with deep pain. I still remember one of the moments when I was holding a loved one who had deceased, and she was in my arms. I'm looking at the rest of the family, and I've got tears in my eyes, and I'm angry. Now, by this point in my life, I had chosen to follow Jesus. This was back in 2011. And it had just been a few months that I was trying to figure out life away from being, a Gentile, if you will, away from being a godless heathen. Now following a man named Jesus and learning about his love and forgiveness, and I'm trying to forgive my own self. He forgave me. He saved me, but I'm trying to save my own soul within my own conscience because of all the decades of hellish living I had practiced. I mean, so and then all, people I love are dying, and so I'm caught in tears and I'm losing self-control. So I lash out at all the other family members, all of you calling me a fool because I chose to follow Jesus. Well, how much of a fool you think I am now? We're holding the body of a deceased loved one because sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And when I chose to follow Jesus and let go sex, drugs, and rock and roll, you called me a fool. Well, how much of a fool am I now? We're holding the dead body of a loved one because of sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And the result of all that hard living on these physical vessels, and I lashed out. Now, what I said was not necessarily a regret. I don't regret saying that. But I don't think I would have said that if I would have been sober of thought and not enamored with grief. You know what I'm saying? You understand that? What I'm saying? Does it make sense? Well, that happens. Now, sometimes, like if I've found myself also dealing with the loss of loved ones and friends prior to me following Jesus. Well, then when grief and sorrow takes place, the outbursts or the emotions or the lack of self-control are quite different. They're not as tempered. They're not as confined. They're out there. We had lost a close individual, a very close friend of mine, um, at the hands of violence because we were in circles of violence, doing violent things, and our outward lash from the grief um, was not what we should have been saying, right? We were seeking revenge and retaliation immediately, ready to put several stacks on the table to have the opposing enemy to be extinguished. And I'm trying to use words here for you to maybe understand from the nuance of it all. But that's not right. One of ours get killed, so now we retaliate in grief and lash out and want to kill the other one. And warfare, street warfare, that never ends. That never ends. Because then you kill one of them, they want to kill another you kill one of them. And that's the game you play out there. So you lash out, you get drunk, you do drugs, you find yourself with other women or men and stuff like that. It's just, it's a mess. But it writes really good songs. Again, it's like the country singer, right? I lost it all, and he sings along, and he makes a hit song. Because it's true life experience. And that's how your conscience should govern itself when you listen to these songs or you read these books or magazines or you watch these movies. Always with a boundary, no doubt. There are things I don't think we should be listening to or watching. That's to each his own conscience, I suppose, to a certain degree. But it is a real life witness, an account that's being expressed in the art world in the form of a song or a movie or a book or, again, art in various ways. And so when you listen to the song and you hear the words of these songwriters and the pain they've gone through with divorce and loss of a girlfriend or whatever, that's reality. You may not be able to relate to some aspects of it, but you can certainly relate to the fact that you may have been in a relationship and lost that relationship, and it brought you a lot of pain. All right, well, that kind of wraps it all up here to the end of our session this day. We were analyzing the lyric being She's Gone, artist being Hall and Oates. They got some wonderful albums, some wonderful records. I've been going through them again these days. I listen to music. When I go to bed, I'll put my headphones and I'll listen to an album. I've been listening to their albums back to the 70s, though. That's where I'm with them. Wonderful albums. And they were speaking about the loss of a relationship, right? And the pain that comes with that. Friends, please, again, try to subscribe, right? Subscribe, like, share, follow, do those things. It helps the algorithm wave be on our side of things, and maybe there's others out there who might find some interest in tapping into these kind of sessions. We go live from Tuesday to Friday, 9 a.m. Atlantic Daylight Time. On Tuesdays, we analyze the lyric. On Wednesdays, we have ourselves midweek Bible studies. We were going through Exodus in 2024, but I don't know, I may start Proverbs. There's some funny stuff in there. Funny stuff, right? I don't know if that's the right word to use, funny stuff, but there is some very interesting wisdom in there that could give us great insight to have conversation about. Maybe, I don't know, whatever. Do you have a suggestion? Send it to me. We'll have a midweek study. Or maybe you want me to keep going in Exodus. I don't know. I feel like I want to go somewhere else, but we'll see. So midweek studies on Wednesday. Thursdays, we have a topical trip. We can talk about topical things, and that's what we do. And on Friday, usually current events, what's happening around us out there, and how, as Christians, you and I, how do we cope with it? How do we deal with it? How do we address it? How do we navigate through it, persevere through our current events, living in a season of lunacy that we currently live in? So yeah, live from Tuesday to Friday, 9 a.m. Atlantic Daylight Time. And friends, listen, me and my family, we live according to His good grace. If you are willing to support us, please consider it for 2025. It'd be a blessing to us. It helps us with food, shelter, and clothing, helps us pay the mortgage, right? Do stuff like that, and work alongside the East Coast Church of Christ over here on the East Coast of Canada. East Coast Church of Christ.com. Now, if you want to support us, you can certainly do so by signing up to addedsouls.locals.com. It's our community over there, and you can sign up and support me monthly. No amount is too low or too high. It really helps, a big deal. And I'm asking you, please consider it. That's all. please consider doing that. Over there, you will have some exclusive content. I have dedicated myself to commitment in creating more content over there exclusively as well to our supporters. So please consider it if you will. There is other options if you want to support me and my family. You can do a PayPal donation. My email address is additsouls@gmail.com. And there's also the physical address aspect to it. If you want to reach out to me, we can have a phone call, video chat, email exchange, whatever you want, and I'll share our address with you. That okay? Stefan Maya is my name. What a pleasure it has been, an honor to be with you, and all the wonderful comments you have shared. Lord willing, tomorrow morning we'll have ourselves a midweek study, 9 a.m. Atlantic Daylight Time. That okay? All right. Peace out.